Hello, and welcome to Counseling 101. My name is Dr. Stephanie Carroll, and today's topic is entitled The Recipe for Effective Counseling. This short presentation, followed by class discussion, is going to talk about just a few key factors that for us as counselors we can think about, and we can learn so that we can provide effective counseling. So, what is effective counseling? During your master's program, you're going to be learning about all sorts of different topics and subjects for counselors so that we can utilize with our clients. We're going to be learning about skills and techniques. We're going to be able to use those skills and techniques in practice, and we're going to be able to look at how, as a counselor, we can put all of this together to create effective counseling. So for this presentation, what I have done is I have used the analogy of a recipe. And within a recipe, we have ingredients. We have mixing the ingredients together, putting the cookies on the cookie sheet, putting them in the oven, putting the cake pan in the oven, and then we have the outcome. And as I was doing my research, I found it really interesting that there were just some very key points that many of the authors pointed out for what makes a great counselor. In specific, in Counseling Today, a journal article entitled The Recipe for Great Counseling through the American Counseling Association, an editor actually talked to various professionals within the field of counselor educators and academia, such as myself, doctoral students, and leaderships with the organization. And what she did was she asked a question: what makes a great counselor? What are skills and attributes that are associated with great counseling? And so the first of these is ingredients, counselor's attributes. It's really looking at ourselves as an individual and being able to say, what makes me effective? What makes me effective as an individual? What makes me effective in our community? And two assessments that are personality assessments often used within school counseling, career counseling. I use them often in my counseling field, was the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator and the Strong Interest Inventory. And both of these really look at an individual's personality traits in relation to careers and looking at the personality of various individuals within that career and the compatibility with the personality. And so as counselors, we have specific attributes that are common amongst ourselves as we are in this helping profession. And so the first of these is the idea of empathy. So empathy, across all of the research I have found, is one of the key attributes as counselors that we can possess. Now, empathy isn't just being able to understand the client or say, yeah, I get it. It's really being able to step in the client's shoes, to meet them where they are, to be able to say, I really, I get what you're saying, and I really want to be able to be there with you. And this is part of Carl Rogers, one of the theorist's core conditions. And Carl Rogers really felt that it was important as a counselor to have empathy, to have unconditional positive regard, and to have genuineness and congruence. And many of those are also attributes that various professionals say are important that make up great counselors. And so what I have done is, outside of this class, in my other class, I asked various graduate students, what makes a great counselor? What are attributes that you feel are important? And outside of Carl Rogers' core conditions, they said authenticity, compassion, flexibility, patience, and passion. Authenticity and compassion is really being able to provide that authentic relationship. Having flexibility is seeing that there are going to be times in the counseling session where things aren't going to go the way that we want or the way that we feel that it should, and being able to switch gears so that we can best meet the patient or client where they are. Patience is realizing that as much as we want to be able to help our client patient with care, that sometimes we need to be able to put on the brakes and say, this is the client's journey, and sometimes it is going to be quick, and sometimes it's going to take a while. And then having a passion for us as counselors, it's key. And so for me, one ingredient that isn't listed here that's so personal and so important to me is my spiritual faith. And it's faith in knowing that I am here for a reason, that as a counselor, that my spiritual growth and my spiritual walk is so important. And having that faith and being able to know that as a clinician, that this is a purpose that I have has been so immensely important in my walk. And as we're sitting here, just realizing what is my spiritual faith and how that shapes me as a person, and then how that shapes me as a counselor. And so in Titus 2:7 in the Bible, it says, "Show yourself in all respects to be a model of good works, and in your teaching show integrity and dignity." And some great words: integrity, dignity, respect are also important factors in looking at ourselves as counselors for effective counseling. Now, as we have these ingredients, we put that together with skills and techniques, the preparation. And throughout this master's program, you're going to be learning all different skills, and you're going to be able to utilize them into practice. However, there's one skill that I believe and research believes is most important, and that's the therapeutic alliance, or the rapport building, being able to build relationships. We were not put here on this earth to be singular. We were here to have relationships. We were here to connect with other individuals. Now, my connection with God has really served me as a great example on how I connect with others. And having that relationship and working on that relationship is so key. And so as we're working on relationships and building rapport with our clients, it's important to have cultural competency. And what that is really being able to understand the client and their ethnicity, their race, their spiritual background, where they are in their faith, having an understanding of where they are in their environment, and really being able to see the client in all these different areas. And the next point is listening versus hearing. I hear noises all day long. I hear frogs, I hear birds, I hear trains, and most of that information goes in one ear and out the other. However, when I listen, I am present, I am focused, I am looking at what the patient is saying and what the patient or client is not saying, being able to read their nonverbals, being able to hear and pay attention to reading between those lines sometimes, and using that with also that rapport building really starts to look at creating that effective counseling. And so then there's advocacy. And sometimes there is a need that I can't fill. And there are times that my proficiency is not necessarily the proficiency that that client needs. And sometimes it's giving resources. So one example of this is a time when I was working in a substance abuse treatment center, and I had a client who was also there with his wife, and he really said he wanted to work on their relationship. Now, being his primary therapist, it probably wasn't going to be the best idea for me to also be working with his wife. And so we had a marriage and family expert who her whole field was looking at couples. And so we worked together as a team. And so I was able to advocate for my client in that situation. And so as counselors, that effective counseling is realizing when we need to advocate for our clients. Now, the last two are skills that are really underrated: creativity and humor. And with creativity, as a counselor, sometimes we need to think outside the box. Sometimes we have clients that having this conversation is not really working. And we need to be able to say, hey, why don't we utilize art, coloring, especially with adolescents. Sometimes they don't always want to talk, but if they have coloring, or if they're using art, or if they are making a picture, that sometimes that conversation, that rapport building can come more easily and natural. And humor. Now, you probably all, I see some of those eyes saying, well, how is humor associated with effective counseling? You know, clients are coming in there and they're hurt and they're having issues and problems. How can humor play a part in all of that? And I'm here to say that it can. Now, beginning out as a master's level student entering into the field, I wasn't comfortable using humor. But as I continued to work with clients, I saw the therapeutic benefit. Sometimes we just need a good laugh. Sometimes we need to be able to release those positive endorphins into our system, and we need to be able to say, you know, what I said is funny, or that, you know, this can be a funny situation. Now, later on in our skills and techniques class and in various other courses, we are going to talk about how humor can also be a defense mechanism. That's for a different class. And so as I look at sharpening my skills, it says iron sharpens iron. And I need to be able to notice that there are times that I need to be able to reflect on my skills and techniques. And I love that Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever activity which you engage, do it with all your ability. And I know that as counselors, we have a great ability. And we have a greatness to be able to help others. We just need to work at it. And so as we work at it, we come to our outcome. Now, obviously, you look here, and this is ideal. And this is normally what happens within a counseling session. And so this comes from a TV show with amateur bakers that attempt to make cakes that are from professionals. It's called Nailed It. And there are times that as a counselor, I feel like I nailed it as working with a client, and sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. However, the outcome is our purpose. As counselors, why are we here to counsel? Counseling is a ministry of helping people. It's being able to have a calling on our lives. For me, it was a calling so great that doing other works such as business or even sales that I used to do just wasn't the same. And so when I look at counseling, it's a way of really being able to utilize my personal attributes, my skills and techniques in this world. And as I continue to work, part of that is education. Now, I know as master level students, you're looking at me saying, I'm here for 3 years. I'm going to go through my courses and then I'm going to be done. Well, I hope that as counselors, we're lifelong learners, that we're able to continue to educate ourselves, look at new techniques, skills, to be able to hone in on our education and the importance of that. And so finally, it's personal reflection. So as I'm working as a counselor, there have been times that I've really had to sit back and say, is my cup being filled? I'm pouring out into others' lives, and it's been a blessing. But am I being blessed? Is my work-life balance good? Is my relationship with my faith and my spirituality and others, is that also positive? Because I believe that we need to live what we teach. So if I'm going to be helping my clients in their change and growing and working through their problems and issues, am I doing the same? And so sometimes that is seeking out counseling ourselves. There's this great adage that says, great counselors need great counselors. And so I am here to say that it is important for us to be able to look at if something emotional comes up, that we can work on that, whether it's through with a supervisor or with another counselor. And so this last statement is a quote that says, experience is something we learn when you attempt something unsuccessfully. Great counselors have lots of experience. And having this topic of effective counseling is realizing that in order to be effective, we're going to have failure. In order to be great, we're going to have unsuccesses. And so I encourage us, as we continue this class discussion, to be able to look at our attributes. What are things that I feel are important that I can bring to the table as a counselor? I want to look at skills that I already have and skills that I want to work on. And what is my mission statement? What is my purpose? And I look forward to our having class discussions. And any questions, please feel free to ask me. At this point in time, I hope everyone has a blessed day and look forward to talking with you soon.